there.
Sounds great. Now you've got some predictions for the year.
Yeah,
a few new things going on. So what are your predictions for 2019?
Well, yeah, for the military out there.
Yes.
We're going to get more and more into what we call high-tech simulations.
Okay.
Our military is getting more and more high-tech every year. So there is going to be a more, shall we say, a higher degree of using the high-tech to train our troops and our sailors and our airmen into doing their job, but doing it without having to fire a gun, let off a missile, fly an airplane, but more and more high-tech type stuff.
Okay.
Even using, VR to go through it.
Nice, yeah.
In some ways. That's my prediction, getting more into it.
I like that, and I'm hoping that we do get... we do see that. That's a direction which a lot of different things can happen in that world. The world of the military, the world of all of our troops, and technology is going to have to improve in a variety of ways for them. So, I'm looking forward to what you discover, because of course we typically report on those kinds of things here on the show. So now you've got another sector for
going into the business sector.
Yes,
we're going to get fewer and fewer newer innovations in the actual hardware end of things, and their business is going more toward saying, what's the biggest value that we have right now? And that is going to be the data they collect on their customers.
Oh, yeah. Well, that has been a big area for years.
But right now, because of Facebook and a few others, and their lawsuits and the FCC getting on their case, we're going to find more and more where they're going to say, okay, I can't give out personal information.
Yeah.
So how can I take all this data, use an algorithm, compile all the stats, and use that or sell that information?
Oh, sure. Well, I think actually we're going to find that the companies will say, well, we can use it because you agreed to that when you became our customer.
That's true.
And there's a lot of that different stuff that's buried into end user license agreements. I remember a tale from a while back. Some guy put into an end user license agreement however many people signed it, like 500,000 people signed away their firstborn in the end user license agreement, and unwittingly they had no idea.
Sure. So, and the biggest thing now is for the private person out there, you gotta sit and you gotta actually read those agreements before you sign up for stuff.
It's some of the most boring reading too.
I understand that.
So you've got one more prediction, and we've got one more minute.
And the last prediction is that for the private user, us out there, we're going to have to pay more attention to our privacy. We're going to have to pay more attention to what companies are doing with our privacy information, how much we're spreading it. And it doesn't make a bit of difference whether it's your bank, whether it's a credit card, whether it's the social media. It really doesn't matter. We are going to have to take the bull by the horns and saying, I'm going to protect my own data.
Yeah, and that's something that we haven't been doing. We've been giving up our various private information, left, right, forwards, backwards, north, south, east, west, up, down, the whole way. And yeah, it's unfortunate. We've gone as far as we've gone, and yeah. So there you go. Those are Steve's predictions for this year, and I will be back with a little bit more. My closing comments here on Computer Talk Radio in just a moment. happening to myself. Well, I think this is happening to other people. I'm pretty sure, actually, that this is happening to other people. I was there the other day, and I saw this particular item that was out on the internet. And I'm going, I'm not sure that that's legit. As a matter of fact, the more I'm looking at this, the more I'm really thinking this is something somebody made up just to put out a particular socio-political, religious point of view, whatever it was. It doesn't matter what it was. What matters is what I did next. I then said, you know what, I'm going to find out the truth on this. So I went to Wikipedia. I could have easily just Googled it and then gone to the first response, which would have been on, yes, Wikipedia. But that's another story altogether. But I consulted Wikipedia not to educate myself. I did not consult Wikipedia out of a sense of wanting to know more. I consulted Wikipedia to find out if somebody else was wrong on the internet. This is, what? Huh? I did post. I posted that Wikipedia article on that other person's item, and then I moved on, and then I realized, I don't know, maybe it was a couple of hours later, or maybe it was a day later. I can't remember. This is however long ago, but we're doing this now. Why are we doing this? Why are we deciding we are the sole authority? We need to fact check everybody. Okay, look, there are things to fact check. If you happen to know that somebody is posting something that is this internet meme that is completely false, and meme isn't really the right word, they're sending the equivalent of spam. They're forwarding items that are, we all know, hopefully, are not good. We shouldn't be forwarding, post this. If you don't post this on your own Facebook page, then you are, denying the existence of God Almighty. You have to post this. If you don't, you're doomed to hell. Well, what? No, that doesn't, it doesn't correlate properly. So we can call people on that gently, nicely. But other times, if you are having to look it up on Wikipedia, if you are nitpicking something, if you are going down a road where, you know what, you wouldn't do this in person, maybe you shouldn't be doing this at all. Maybe that's the approach we need to take. If you wouldn't do this in person, don't do it at all. I'm not going to stop in the middle of a nice, pleasant discussion over some little minor thing and go, I think you're wrong. I think I need to look this up on Wikipedia. We need to look this up together and find out the truth once and for all. Ha, 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 I got you. You're wrong. What? We got to stop doing this. All of us. Every single one of us. This is Benjamin Rockwell. You're listening to Computer Talk Radio. We'll catch you next week.
WLRI LP Gap, WMUU LP Madison, WRAQ LP Angelica, WXDR LP New Orleans, WXIR LP Rochester.
From Feature Story News in New York, I'm Nick Harper with the Week in Review. The US government shutdown has dominated headlines in America this past week, and the shutdown continues. Friday became day 14 of the deadlock. The major sticking point is funding for the border wall with Mexico. The Democrats are saying no. The president says he won't allow the government to reopen without money for his wall. President Trump upped the ante by saying he may declare a national emergency in the United States so that he can build the wall without the approval of Congress. He's also warned that he's prepared to keep the government shut down for months or even years. FSN's Washington correspondent Simon Marks reports.
After another round of fruitless talks with Democrats, President Trump made his most potent threat yet.
We could call a national emergency and build it very quickly. If we can do it through a negotiated process, we're giving that a shot.
They'll give it that shot this weekend at the White House. Vice President Mike Pence will lead fresh negotiations. If they succeed, the government could reopen next week. If they fail, President Trump may test the claim that he's legally allowed to declare a state of emergency.
The UK joined the US in the row with Russia over the arrest of an alleged spy in Moscow. The UK warned Russia not to use individuals as pawns in a diplomatic chess game after it came to light that detained Paul Whelan holds dual British and US citizenship. UK Foreign Secretary Jeremy Hunt said the UK was extremely worried, while US Secretary of State Mike Pompeo continues to petition for his release. FSN's Lucy Taylor reports from Moscow.
Paul Whelan is a former US Marine who served in Iraq and now works in corporate security. But his family says he was in Moscow for a friend's wedding when he was detained by Russia's Federal Security Services and accused of espionage. Russia hasn't released details of the charges against Mr. Whelan, but if convicted, he could face up to 20 years in jail.
In India, there was controversy this week after several women entered a temple in Kerala in southern India that has banned females aged between 10 and 50 from worshipping there. A 46-year-old woman became the third woman under the age of 50 to go inside. Violent protests have taken place during the week in Kerala over whether women should be allowed access to the temple. As FSN's correspondent in Mumbai, Rebecca Bunden, reports.
The 46-year-old woman from Sri Lanka had denied that she had managed to worship at the Sabrimala temple in the South Indian state of Kerala, but CCTV footage reveals that she did manage to gain access, the Indian news channel NDTV reports. There have been violent clashes in Kerala after two women on Wednesday became the first under the age of 50 to enter the temple, following a Supreme Court ruling which stated that the temple's traditional ban on women between the ages of 10 and 50 should be lifted.
From bureaus worldwide, this is FSN.
Good evening. This is Ted Hicks from Late Night Parents. Ways to follow the show. Just basically go to the website, latenightparents.com. We've got everything there. We want to thank you for listening to the podcast, listening to the live shows. This is not a year in review, but this is more like the last show of the year. So I guess it could be like a year in review, but we don't do those type of things. On the line, we have good friend Sean Armour. You can find him on Twitter, true_armor. That's TRU_ARMOR. Sean, how you doing?
What up?
What's going on, man? We was just talking before the recording started. We were talking about life, talking about getting older, and it's special when you can talk with someone that you've gone through so many different stages.
Yeah, I learned to ride a bike with.
You've gone through so many stages with this person, and you could say, hey, you remember in 1977, you came outside and you said to me, and you're like,
right.
You're like, Ted, what are you talking about? I'm like, but somewhere back there, you know, you really do remember it. You're like, oh, wait, maybe after we get off this podcast, you'll say, yo, I do remember that situation. But
right,
we are getting older. We were just talking about health, wealth, fitness, and I released in our chat room, I was looking at doing some things, not as a New Year's resolution, because you know what happens to resolutions, right?
Well, okay, tell me what you think happens to resolutions, because all my life I've always been like, that's not true. A lot of people believe that they fall away, and I was just up until the last 3 years when I didn't make them because my life was in flux. But, yeah, I mean, I quit smoking on a New Year's resolution, right?
Oh, you did?
Yeah, absolutely.
Congratulations.
So it's a lot of it comes down, in my mind, a lot of your New Year's resolutions don't come down to other people going, it's not going to work out. It's you going, it's not going to work out. So why would you adopt this thing to make yourself better and then cash it in? So my thing is maybe you need to tone it back a little bit, but you should never give up on the idea of a better you. Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
You know I'm hippie AF, man.
It's kind of like gambling on yourself, betting on yourself.
Exactly.
You know, if you don't bet on yourself, who will?
Exactly. And I know it's hard, don't get me wrong, and I know it can be, and it's only you doing it, you know. You don't have a cheerleading squad, but you if you feel you need to give up smoking, let me tell you my smoking story. Let me tell you my smoking story real quick. So I used to smoke, and a young woman who was about 5 at the time, who was just and is one of my favorite people. She's older now. I think she's 20 now. And she was like, you should stop smoking. I was like, I'm going to try. She was like, you promise? And I was like, And I'm like, yeah, I guess I promise. And from that promise, it stuck in my head like someone had stuck it on a corkboard in the office. And every time I lit a cigarette, it began to bother me. And from that point on, when I resolved to quit, it took me 3 years from me going, I got to get this up, just because she was in my head. And it took me about a year and a half, maybe 2 years. So the whole process was like 5 years. But the idea of it began to wear on me, and I try and quit, and I fail. I try and quit, and I fail. But I just kept adjusting how I quit, and now I don't smoke. And so yeah, my New Year's resolution took me 6 years on that one, but you know, it came to pass. So that's what I'm saying.
Oh no, I hear you. I just noticed.
Right.
Every year you go to the gym, right? And you see your gyms are jam-packed come January 1. Membership is going through the roof. And you come back like by March 1, and the place is...
none of those people are there.
Darn near...
But here's the thing. I say, are none of those people there? Because that's 3 months to change the way you look, right? So maybe January 1st you see a lot of rotund people, but by March, which is 90 days, how long it takes to change a body, those rotund people aren't so rotund. And they're not there in sweats anymore. All of a sudden, they're in their Lycra skinniness and new haircut because they're beginning to feel themselves. Oh, I lost 10 pounds. Oh, in February, I lost another 10 pounds. So by March comes around, they're 30 pounds lighter, and they're dressing differently. And they've got a new attitude, as Patti LaBelle would say. They've got their skinny girl swag on. But you'll see these people, and a new haircut, new outfit, and you think that all those January people quit. And I think less of them quit than you think.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
No, it totally makes sense, because I think what I was doing was I was talking about myself, that by March, I'm no longer in the gym, and I've already thrown this to the curb, gone back to my drinking ways and eating unhealthy. But I got to tell you, just recently started a new healthy way of eating, of just alcohol consumption. And I did this right after, in the midst of the holiday season. Because, we had all these holiday parties leading up towards the end of the year. Right. So, from various different vendors and all this other stuff, and had to show up here, had to show up there, and it's open bars and you name it.
Right. Free meals, have the steak. Right.
So within the last 48 hours, I've officially started, because I wanted to start it before the new year.
That's a smart choice. Yeah.
I wanted to start it before the new year. So, increasing the water intake. I'm not saying that I'm not going to not drink again, but it will be in
No, that would be zealotry. You like if the human body can, let's say, drink 50 drinks a day, let's say that, right? And we're all drinking 50 drinks a day. All we're saying is, of those 50 drinks, if you were normally drinking 20 alcoholic beverages a day, tone that down to 15 and add in 5 more waters. And that's all we're saying. We're not saying go cut dry. You know what I'm saying? I mean, 50 is a lot, but let's say 10. But that's the idea of it. So when here's another weirdness. I used to quit smoking every 6 months because I was a guy for like forever, and I was like, let me monitor this. So every 6 months, I would quit drinking for like 2 months, 3 months, just to make sure I didn't have any sketchy urges to be a drunk or anything. But I also drink a lot of water because I was a runner. So in order to also cut back on some of that drinking that I was doing, I would have a water between beers, between shots, right? Not all night, but I would eventually have like 2 or 3 pints of water when I normally wouldn't have had any. And before I gave that up, it just went to shots. So now I was still drinking, but I was also drinking less because I was drinking more water. All these kind of like life hacks that you can do. The worst thing you can do is be a zealot about anything. I would tell anybody if they needed to lose 200 pounds, the Jared diet is fine, that Subway thing, but it's the same thing every day. You can't maintain. He did it for a long time, I guess, but you can't maintain that throughout the course of your life. What you can do is adjust. You know what I mean? And then you hit new levels of adjusting, and before you know it, maybe you're not drinking anymore. But for now, instead of quitting drinking, and if you have 5 drinks a night, cut back to like 3 and have 2 glasses of water or a glass of water between, and before you know it, you'll be filled up, or any sort of new progresses will start for you. But the idea is don't be a zealot and don't give up the fight. I mean, we as men, we are supposed to battle these things out, and I guess we as human animals are supposed to battle this thing out. But socially, yeah, I mean, you can get it done without being a zealot, and stop drinking and stop eating. The only thing I would tell you if you were going to give up completely is smoking, because we know where that's going and that's expensive. But all the other stuff, it's a slow jog. It's like it always takes me at least a mile to get into my running speed because I never warm up. So by the time I hit the 2-mile mark, I feel miserable enough but in sync enough to hit my stride, and that's what it is. I've had girlfriends who were runners, and they'd just be a bullet, and they'd just lead me, and they were like, "I thought you were a runner," but we're different. So so I guess that's what I'm trying to say. Okay. Don't give up is my point of New Year's resolutions. All your listeners, man. I mean, late night parent listeners, you cannot. You adjust, and it's like the battle plan. It's like no battle plan survives engagement. So you go, oh, well, I guess I'll adjust here and do this. And maybe I wanted to lose 10 pounds this month. Maybe I want to back that down to maybe just 4, and and this is how you end up not hating yourself that you quit, that you gave up. Because I'm pulling for you. I'm one of those hippie knuckleheads, and I'm pulling for you. Out here in the hinterland, you don't know me, but I'm a fan of yours, and I'm pulling for you. So when someone goes up, she's in the gym, who she thinks she kidding? You know that they said that, and just kind of do your thing regardless. And, those same people in 6 months will walk up to you and go, oh, my God, you look totally different. And that's where the cash register is, right? That's where the payoff is. People letting you know that your hard work has been noticed.